Ladies and gentlemen, my name is
Scott.
Hey, yo. Is that his younger brother? It's gonna be
Jeff.
The cream will rise to the top. Oh, yeah.
And you're listening to
all of the great action figures from our good friends at Hasbro.
the FullyPoseable
Have your own WrestleMania with all your favorite figures.
Wrestling Figure
Each sold separately from LJN.
Podcast.
And we are the Mount Rushmore of professional wrestling.
Hey, welcome to episode 217 of the FullyPoseable Wrestling Figure Podcast, the longest running episodic wrestling figure podcast going today for over 4 years, a revolutionary force in wrestling figure podcast entertainment. My name is Jeff. Sitting alongside next to me is my real life brother, not storyline brother, Scott. Scott, say hello.
Hello.
Scott, what is going on over there?
You know, I'm trying to stockpile as much toilet paper and water and paper towels and hand soap and hand sanitizer as I can, because I can't find any wrestling figures on the pegs, but I was able to find all of that. So, with that said, I am now trading toilet paper and hand sanitizer for hard-to-find wrestling figures. Hit me up. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on social media at feedme_Taco Bell. No, I'm just kidding. It's going good over here. It's going good. You know, just watching the craziness that is our news lately with all this crazy virus stuff going on and just trying to keep up with all of that as it's changing literally every hour. But aside from that, I have Power Punch Bang running through my veins, ready to have a good show where, unfortunately, we're going to have to talk about all that crazy news lately. And we've got a little bit of news, but we've got a lot of listener this week. So excited to talk wrestling figures and all this craziness going on in the wrestling world right now.
Wait, you found toilet paper?
Dude, I did. I had to kill a man for it. But yeah, I was able to jump a dude in a parking lot as he walked out with 37 rolls of toilet paper. You know, sorry for him, but now my family gets to wipe their ass. And you've got to be feeling in strong positioning right now, Jeff, with the power of your bidet. You're not reliant on toilet paper like us common folk. You've got an ass-washing machine on your toilet. In fact, you have several. You know, if I really want a good wipe, I've got to go to my local mall with the escalator and back myself up against that little, the hand railing thing that goes up. But you, sir, you have an ass-washing machine at your fingertips.
Yeah, who's laughing at me now, huh?
You're like He-Man with his sword. I have the power. We all thought it was funny before. Nobody's laughing now.
Yeah, Celeste and I are the ones laughing over here now. We got the love toilet going on from Saturday Night Live with bidets on them, you know?
Oh, dude, you're washing your ass. So, like, you have a sparkling ass with, like, your pinky to your mouth, like, you commoners hunting for toilet paper. I have a sparkling clean ass. Look at me.
I'm expecting people to show up at the door. Hey, I heard you got a bidet in there.
As they're itching their beehole because they have no toilet paper. Start charging admission.
It's crazy, dude. Although I'm seeing more wrestling figures on the pegs than I am toilet paper. I'm seeing toilet paper on the pegs.
Yeah. Do we need to talk about Charmin distribution problems now?
Yeah, I didn't know Purell and disinfectant wipes had such a big distribution issue going on.
Now people that are hunting down toilet paper know our pain as wrestling figure collectors. Welcome to the club, guys. Welcome to the club.
All they're seeing is the one ply that's left on the racks and everything. And we're like, yeah, that's equivalent to top picks.
Yeah, exactly. Do I want to bleed or do I want to stink?
I've got Candy Apple Crisp running through me right now. We will be getting into all that stuff. We're trying to take your guys' mind off of it for the next hour or so, but I'm probably going to guarantee you it's going to be coming up. You can get any of our shirts from Pro Wrestling Tees or whatamaneuver.net. We also have 8x10s for sale that we just shipped out to Wrestling Toy Tracker and Jonathan Dobro. They seem to enjoy those. If you guys want a set of those, hit us up in our DMs. You can follow us on Twitter, YouTube, Snapchat, and the Book of Faces at FullyPoseable, Instagram FullyPoseable WFP. You can go back and listen to any of our past podcasts on FullyPosablePodcast.com, Stitcher, iTunes, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. Please rate and review on iTunes. Scott, we did get another review.
Sweet. Is it a 5-star?
It is a 5-star.
I love when that happens.
It says Average Joe's, and it comes in from Team Randon 21. He says, being someone who's asked the Fully Poseable brothers questions every week. Oh, I think this is JT.
Thank you, JT.
I felt it was only fair to give them a review. Jeff and Scott are relatable and fun to listen to. They interact with the fans, talk about Fig Life news, and touch up on nostalgia. While I enjoy listening to the show, I do hope the boys try and shake things up. Especially when news is slow, I feel some shows where there isn't much going on can feel a bit repetitive and bland. Other than that, they get 5 stars plus. JT. I appreciate the honesty, JT. Thank you. I don't know what other segments. I'm trying to rack my brain of what other segments we can bring to the show. That's a little bit difficult, but I mean, we could go into the wrestling realm, talk old school pay-per-views, but so many other people do that. So I'm trying to think of other segments to bring to the show and other ideas that we can do to branch off and bring more to the show to change things up, because you're 100% correct. When we do change things up, that's when people seem to enjoy it. Like, for example, a lot of people hit us up and said that the top 5 a few weeks ago of Ruthless Aggression figures was amazing. They thought that was a great nostalgia segment because they weren't expecting that. So we threw a kind of a change up at them. So we'll try to continue to keep doing that and bring new stuff to the show. But we do thank you for the 5 stars.
Thank you, JT. Much appreciated, sir. And we appreciate the honest feedback. And yeah, we've actually been talking over the last few weeks about a way to get our segments in, because we have been listener segment heavy. And thank you to you guys for continuing to send us listener questions and submissions. We love it, but we have been heavy on that and kind of lacking in our other segments. And it's something Jeff and I have been talking about over the last few weeks. We may have an announcement very soon about that.
You can send us any audio questions, or anything else at all to fullyposeablewfp@gmail.com. Fig Life Meetup 3. We don't know.
Yeah, another TBD.
That's all we can say right now. We don't know. With everything going on in the world right now, we don't know. We don't know if it's going to happen. We don't know what we're going to do. So that's the honesty regarding it. As of right now, it's still on. April 3rd, 4 to 6 p.m., right after WrestleCon, right before SmackDown. But other than that, we don't know. So that's the honest to God truth. We don't know about Mania. It's up in the air. We don't know about our status for Mania. We don't know. That's all up in the air right now. So to be determined.
Yeah, it's changing by the hour. You know, we record a few days before our episode actually drops. And if we had recorded this show 2 days ago, we'd be like, oh yeah, it's on. It's, totally happening. It's nothing to worry about. But now 2 days later, all of a sudden, everything is changing. NBA, NHL suspended their seasons. MLB has pushed opening day out 2 weeks. Disneyland, Disney World, Disney Cruise Lines, California Adventures, all closed. Tom Hanks has the coronavirus in Australia. Like, all this news is breaking, and this is all within the last 24 hours. So it's literally changing hour by hour. Not to mention wrestling shows are canceling. The SmackDown that was scheduled for Friday night is moving to the Performance Center. They've got live events that are canceling. So you're right, Jeff. It's to be determined. We don't know the status of Florida or Tampa specifically for WrestleMania. Hence, we can't say that the meetup is a go because we don't know. It's really out of our hands. So we're just waiting and listening and watching and waiting to see what news comes next. And it's all out of our hands. We can't make those calls. So we'll let you guys know as soon as we know.
And plus, we've got to factor in our home lives over here in California. We interact with elderly people all the time. I'm with our parents 3-4 days a week. Scott has a situation over at his house that he has to monitor. So this whole thing is bigger than WrestleMania. And so as of right now, it's to be determined. We will find out soon, and hopefully we'll have updates for you guys regarding it.
Oh, for sure. And Jeff, you kind of touched on it there, but yeah, my mother-in-law lives with us, and she's near 70 and has major respiratory issues. And that seems to be exactly what this virus is targeting, are older people with that condition. So I need to be extra careful in possibly bringing something home to her. And she's on somewhat of a mini quarantine on her own anyway. Like she's pretty much homebound. She's not going out anywhere. We're just kind of being careful with it. We don't want to chance anything. I can't afford to bring something home to her for obvious reasons. We know how deadly this is. So yeah, we're definitely playing it safe. We're doing what we need to do. Everything that's been recommended, you guys know the drill. You're hearing it too. But in terms of news, as far as the meetup goes, WrestleMania itself, Access, WrestleCon, it's all kind of a wait and see. And obviously WrestleMania is the big domino here, right? Once WrestleMania falls, everything else is going to fall around it if that happens. WrestleCon even came out today, as you said, it's March 12th. WrestleCon came out today and said if WrestleMania cancels, WrestleCon is canceled. If WrestleMania postpones, WrestleCon is either canceled or will still happen. But let's be honest, if WWE, their flagship show, WrestleMania, their Super Bowl, if you will, if that falls, everything else around it is falling too. And with the way everything is canceling right now, from concerts to Disneyland, who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? Are they going to do an empty stadium? Jeff, you led off with it. It's to be determined. We don't know what's going on. We're just waiting on news, just like you guys are. So it's really a wait and see right now.
To kind of put it in perspective of how big this is, Kiss suspended their tour. Do you understand what it's like for Kiss to not get money? That is huge. Gene Simmons is all about the money. He has Kiss coffins. He has Kiss condoms, Kiss everything. So for Gene Simmons to kind of suspend money like he's doing with their tour, that's big.
Well, they postponed those shows, so Gene will make that money back. But to your point, Gene canceled meet and greets. Those Kiss meet and greets run upwards of like $5,000. So for Gene to cancel those, you're right, Jeff, that's a massive deal. And Kiss loves money, or I should say specifically, Gene Simmons loves money as much as Vince McMahon. And Gene Simmons walked away from that cash. So we'll have to see. It's kind of a wait and see thing. But who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? It's all to be determined.
So how are you feeling about it, Scott? Like, do you think that they should cancel?
I don't see how they can have the show right now amidst everything else falling around it. The NBA and the NHL were both going to do empty stadium until they just decided to suspend. So I think that the public pressure on WWE to cancel or postpone or do an empty stadium is going to start to really ramp up here over the next few days to the next week, to where they're going to have to make a decision and have a plan B in place. I don't see how they continue to promote the show that 70 to 80,000 people are going to show up for from all over the world, aside from Europe, because travel into and out of Europe has been shut down. I don't see how they can have a show that people from around the world are going to fly into and have 70 to 80,000 people in the same area, and not just for WrestleMania itself, but for Access and WrestleCon and all of the other wrestling events that are happening. I don't know how they can have that when everything else is shut down around it. It would be baffling to me if they have the show and don't bow down to, I guess it would be public pressure at this point. Again, it's to be determined, but with everything else shutting down, I don't see how WWE can be the last thing standing and be like, no, we're going to have this show, and people from all over the world, except for Europe, are going to fly into it and be in the same place at the same time when they're saying that large crowds shouldn't be gathered for the fear of spreading it. I don't know how they could be the last man standing. But again, to be determined, but that's going to be hard to withstand that pressure from the general public to be the last man standing.
You can't have that many people in one area. That should not be happening right now. And this is a personal opinion. And everybody's like, oh, it's like the flu. It's a global pandemic. It's a pretty big deal. So how do you have a show where 70,000 people are going to be at, maybe 60,000 or 50,000 in fear of it? It's really weighing on Celeste and I if we want to go or not, because we don't want to bring it back to our siblings. We don't want to bring it back to our families. We don't want to do that, all because we went to WrestleMania. And it's so bad, we're still monitoring into May if we're even want to go to Double or Nothing in Vegas. This isn't just we don't want to go to Tampa. This has now become, oh crap, we shouldn't be around large crowds.
Yeah, that's what we're being told, and especially here in California, where they said no groups of 250 or more are going to be able to gather. They just prefer that groups of people that large just not do anything like that. And Jeff, we saw this with the San Jose Toy Show last weekend. Of course, that's on a much smaller scale, but it was shut down entirely. And now concerts are canceling or being postponed, and Disneyland is shut down, and It just seems that there's a lot of public pressure here to cancel. And whether or not that's media driven, that's a whole nother argument that you could have. But for the health of everyone, who knows? Who knows? I'm not a health expert. I'm just going off of what I'm seeing so far. And it seems to me that within the next day or two to the next week, there's going to be a final decision made on WrestleMania. And it just seems every hour something else is canceling or postponing. And if that happens to WrestleMania, I'll just say it wouldn't surprise me at all. Well, and let me make this clear too, is I'm not worried about catching it myself, right? Like, I think you kind of pretty much said the same thing, Jeff. It's not a matter of like if I get it, because I'm pretty sure if I get it, I'm going to kick out, right? The survival rate seems pretty good for people our age. Well, I mean, I am at an advanced age, like I'm almost an elderly now, but I'm not too worried about getting this and dying. It's getting this and spreading it to somebody who is at risk. That is my biggest concern about this, is I couldn't live with myself if that happened. So I really, like you said earlier, Jeff, I need to kind of watch what's going on under my roof before I worry about WrestleMania. So we're kind of waiting and seeing like you guys are, and we're taking in news every hour on this. And it's crazy. I haven't lived through something like this really since like the quake of '89, Jeff. You know, everything kind of shut down and it was crazy and there was panic and it was insane. And that's really the closest thing. Well, I guess 9/11 too would be the two things that I've lived through that have been even close to this. And again, it's changing by the hour, all of the news coming out, and things are canceling by the hour. So again, with WrestleMania, I would imagine we'll have a firm answer on that, because it's like WWE's waiting on Tampa and Tampa's waiting on WWE. And I think WWE is formulating a plan B in case Tampa forces their hand to postpone it or do an empty stadium. But I would imagine by the time we record next week, Jeff, we'll have a more firm answer as to what's going to happen.
Well, don't forget, you were around for the last pandemic in 1918 with the influenza.
That was frightening.
You've told me stories about that numerous times.
Jeff, I'm glad to see you brought your jokes this show. Well done.
I have to lighten it up, man. I have to. I've been reading so much, I don't want to say negativity, but so much concern that I had to lighten this up a little bit.
Well done. Well, you know, it's funny. We lit off the show with, we're going to try to stay away from all that news. And here we go. We have like a 20-minute conversation about it. But it's relevant, and it's definitely affecting the world of wrestling. And when we get to the news, the world of wrestling figures. So it's all very relevant to our show, as it is to a lot of different podcasts out there. So it's just kind of what's happening now. And it's all, like you said, Jeff, to be determined, and news is changing by the hour. It's a crazy time to be living in right now. Very crazy. And I can only remember a few times like it in my lifetime. And again, I'm very old. I'm almost elderly now.
Scott, did you do any toy spotting?
Actually, the wife did the toy spotting for me. And she checked out the Lathrop Target, which is the better of the Targets that I have access to. And they pretty much had the same stock on hand that I discussed on the last show. Nothing to report for toy spotting, unfortunately.
I did do toy spotting over here. Nothing to report over here. It kind of sucked. I had been seeing those WrestleMania Elites on the peg. And GBM hit me up and he goes, dude, I let Hova have his Kofi WrestleMania Elite so Hova could go get it signed. Well, now he didn't have a Kofi. So I was like, dude, I'm going to head down to my Target and I'm going to see if I can find it. So I went down later that night. On the pegs was 6 Matt Hardys.
What?
Matt Hardy equals the new Target Tito.
Oh, boy. And it's going to be even worse now that he's not even in WWE anymore. Oh, boy. They're going to be sitting on those for a while.
The funny thing is the next day Celeste goes, I have to go to Target. And I'm like, really? I was just there last night. She goes, I know, but I need to head down there and pick something up. I'm like, all right, I'll go with you. I was like, maybe they put out a case, thoughts and prayers. So I go down there. On the pegs is still the 6 Matt Hardys, but they added a Booker T and a Mick Foley. And I turned the corner and I saw that Mick Foley and I got scared and ran away.
Oh, man. Almost as bad as that new Alexa Basic.
Ooh. We should put that up to a vote. Which is worse?
Ugh. Ugliest couple.
I do have to say I got a text message from Steve Fontas over in Chicago from the PPW podcast. He goes, hey, by chance, do you need Billy Kay? And I'm like, yeah, I do actually. He goes, oh, okay, I'm picking her up for you. I was like, beautiful. So I'm expecting that to be delivered here shortly.
Nice.
Oh, and I also got, it's funny, I get a door tag that says that I missed a delivery, an international shipment from the postal service. I'm like, wait a second, what? I was like, what did I order? Yeah.
Uh-oh. You got drunk and did like Japan ordering again?
Well, I didn't know, I don't remember doing this. So I guess I ordered the alternate Jushin Thunder Liger 16D. So they came out with two. They came out with Jushin Thunder Liger in his regular white outfit, but then they also came out one with an alternate like mask that I guess I had ordered and I don't remember doing it. So yeah, I have that in the collection now.
Oh, nice. So you literally did international toy spotting.
Yes, I did.
Excellent.
I know we went a little long on the WrestleMania stuff, so now we got to get into the news. What do you say we jump into it, Scott?
Let's talk about it.
Oh, you gonna learn today.
Scott, in the news, WrestleMania displays started popping up at Walmart. So everyone hit up your Walmarts, and people are finding some good stuff. They're finding anvils in the WrestleMania displays. So check your Walmarts, see if those are hitting.
Nice. It's like an Easter egg hunt.
It is. We never get the WrestleMania displays out here.
No, our local Walmart did not get that either. So I feel you on that.
Oh, you got the same thing out there, huh?
Yeah, I never even saw it.
Both Walmarts out here, no displays ever. So it is what it is. But for you guys, go hit up your Walmarts, check it out, see if the WrestleMania display is there. Maybe you'll score an anvil. Scott, I received an email from Super 7, and it's not good.
Sad.
Are you ready for this?
Nope.
I heard yes.
Yes.
So it says Super 7 pre-orders update, March 2020. Dear Super 7 pre-order customers, our top priority is always delivering you the best customer service and getting you updates as soon as we have them. We cannot be more excited to deliver to you the high-quality, fan-favorite Ultimates and unique made-to-order releases you've ordered. Likely, you are aware, though, of the real impact the coronavirus is having all over the world right now. Yes, Scott and I just talked about it.
We and our listeners are fully aware.
Unfortunately, as with every company in the toy industry, Super 7 is also being affected by these events. If you guys remember last week to Steve Ozer's Q&A, a question was posed about the coronavirus. Global shipping and supply chains have been disrupted due to the virus, and this is causing delays in our production and deliveries. While all of our factories are back up and running, though many at only partial capacity, they have been able to provide revised ship dates for many of our pre-orders. Several of these, like Toxic Avenger, Conan the Barbarian, and Ren and Stimpy, are paused at 95% complete without a clear end date yet. Snake Mountain is also near complete, but after the Chinese New Year and coronavirus delays, we are waiting for the final sample to begin production.
Wait. Hold on. Pause. Did he say Chinese New Year?
Jeremy wrote this, didn't he?
Look at Super 7 falling on the Chinese New Year gimmick.
Is this a Jax email? Did I pull this one from 2008?
I love it. Anyway, I'm sorry for interrupting you. Continue.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Wave 1 is also awaiting final samples, while New Japan Pro Wrestling Wave 1 and Thundercats Wave 1 are still in the sampling process. In the last few weeks, as production has started again in our factories, we expect all of these projects to move to completion fairly quickly, but the exact timing of each factory is still a bit fluid. We will keep you updated as we receive real answers and timelines for each project as we know them. Thank you for your patience. You will receive more updates soon with specific details on your order, including sharing the latest and newest pics of your pre-order. If you have any questions, please click on the button below. All questions are logged and they will be immediately responded by our customer service team. Thanks, the Super 7 team. As they mentioned, this has impacted the toy industry. I know Ringside has actually delayed shipments on a lot of their upcoming orders that they usually get early. A lot of basics, battle packs, elites that are being delayed. So we're gonna face some empty pegs here shortly due to this. It won't be because of a reset like last year. This one will actually be because of the virus. So guys, be prepared. Do your toy hunt and pick up figures that you want. Even if you're on the fence about them, just reach in and grab it. Be like, okay, this may be the last time I see figures for a while.
Yeah, and make sure to help out your fellow Fig Lifers too. I see a lot of guys out there that are posting, oh, I found this and I found that, and then they're reselling them at higher dollar amounts, or they're forcing you to join a Patreon so that you get a figure. That's crap. Make sure that you are taking care of your fellow Fig Lifers, because not everybody is as fortunate as some of you that are able to find the figures. I think it's better to help somebody than to scalp them. So make sure you're taking care of the Fig Life when you're out and about and you're hunting your figures.
Speaking of, GBM has been a Cassius Ono fiend, man. He is getting hit with so many Cassius Onos out there.
Well, it's funny you mentioned GBM, dude. He's a prime example of exactly what I'm talking about. He has the Fig Life at the front of his mind at all times. Like, he finds something, boom, he's thinking about who needs it, who can I take care of out there. Like, he's a prime example of it, and there's so many others like him. And again, if you're finding these figures, there's a lot of people that aren't. It's like Revenge of the Nerds. Remember the end of Revenge of the Nerds, where he issues the line, "There's more of us than there are of you"? That's you and I starting that nerd talk, Jeff, where we're like, all right, all you fellow Fig Lifers that can't find figures, come join the pile, and we're going to tell you guys that there's more of us than there are of you. That's those of us that can't find the figures. I see way more posts of people that are having a hard time finding the figures, and now, as mentioned with the coronavirus, it's going to be harder and harder to find them because of shipping delays. So guys, if you're out and you're finding these things, throw it out on social media. Let us know what you're finding. Guaranteed somebody's going to jump on it because they can't find it in their area. So make sure you've got the Fig Life at the front of your mind when you're out and you're hunting these figures.
I think JT was talking about our toy spotting when he said that we're repetitive.
Well, and I'm sorry if that's true. I'm sorry, but it's very relevant. I think that way more people are having a harder time finding these figures than people that aren't. And it's funny because there are some out there that are like, oh, well, if you're having a hard time finding them, why don't you just go to Ringside and order them? Well, because number one, I don't want to pay their prices. And number two, I enjoy the hunt. It's more fun for me to go out and hunt these figures, even if I can't find them. There is the occasion, as I mentioned with Lathrop Target, as I mentioned with our local Walmart when you and I went, Jeff. It's that thrill of seeing stuff on the pegs where you're like, yes, this is why I hunt. And I'm sure that's true for a lot of you as well. So I'm sorry it gets repetitive, but it's a fact, and it's got to be addressed at some point. But as you mentioned, Jeff, it's going to be worse with the coronavirus and the shipping delays.
Scott, that rounds out the news. We are going into the final four of Marcho Madness. Are you ready? You don't know the results, do you?
Nope, I'm going to be surprised just like everybody listening.
They think it's all a game, but I ain't come to play. After me, I can promise it ain't gon' feel the same. Don't matter what they say, I won't ever change. I ball so hard, they calling me the game.
Scott, we have great news for our listeners. When you head to foco.com and you place an order over there, use the code WFP10. That will get you 10% off your entire order. That code has been extended out to April 19th. We have extended with Foco. They were happy with our sales, and from Foco and us over here, we thank you guys who have used that code. But now the code has been extended out to April 19th. So any of the newer listeners that may have found us, head on over to foco.com, use code WFP10 for 10% off your order. And Scott, what do you have?
Jeff, do you want to prove you're the undisputed world heavyweight champion of WWE fandom? Of course you do. Foco.com is here to help. With Foco's WWE bobbleheads, you can visit Suplex City with Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman, let the Fiend Bray Wyatt in, and break some glass with Stone Cold Steve Austin. Foco's line of WWE bobbleheads includes all of your favorite WWE superstars and legends from then, now, and forever, including Becky Lynch, The Rock, Ric Flair, John Cena, Seth Rollins, AJ Styles, Ronda Rousey, Andre the Giant, and more. These bobbleheads from Foco are handcrafted and hand-painted to depict the biggest names in sports entertainment, making them must-haves for fans and collectors alike. Don't miss out on these awesome collectibles. Head to foco.com now. That's FOCO.com. Again, Jeff, FOCO.com. Use code WFP10 at checkout and save yourself 10% on everything in your cart.
And that means everything. MLB, NFL, NHL, basketball. It's all right there. 10% off using that code WFP10. Scott, it is time for Marcho Madness Final Four. Are you ready?
Oh, I'm very ready. This is going to be great.
Scott, we're going to start off with the retro side. With 184 votes, we had the Kane Retro versus the Undertaker Retro. The Brothers of Destruction going at it. Undertaker jobs to Kane.
Whoa!
Kane wins, number 1 seed, 64.7% to 35.3%.
Oof. All right, Kane. Hey, well deserved. The number 1 seed moving on. Not exactly predictable, but he was number 1 seed for a reason.
I think he was unanimously number 1 overall. A lot of people love that Kane Retro. So, Kane is moving on to the finals. Now, who is he going to face from the Hasbro side? We had the number 1 seed, Macho Man Retro Series 1 versus the number 2 seed, Bret Hart Series 8 with the silver shades. Scott, with 202 votes, the number 1 seed, Macho Man, defeated Bret Hart 51% to 49%.
There you go. That's what I was waiting for. That's super close, like a few votes tilted the scales a little bit. I love it. That's exactly what it should have been. I think the better figure won. I know you disagree, but that's great. You now have, and what do you say? Did we seed pretty well? The 2 number 1s going at it exactly as you would think. So Hasbro Macho versus Retro Kane. What a battle, dude.
I'm not talking the rest of the show. I'm really mad right now.
You remind me of Bobby Heenan during Primetime Wrestling when Gorilla would get on his ass about something and Bobby would get angry and just pout. Like, that's totally you right now. I love it.
I'm going to get on my banana phone.
Oh, I love it. That's great. I kind of feel like Gorilla laughing at you too, how Gorilla used to laugh at Bobby. Oh, that's so great.
Was it the Gorilla phone or was it the banana phone?
I think it was a banana phone.
I think it was too. Yeah. I'm getting on my banana phone. I'm calling. I want to recount.
You're pretending you're on the phone with somebody in production just so you don't have to talk to me.
Well, the 2 number 1 seeds are going at it. We seeded that pretty well, Scott.
I would say so. Yeah, for sure. And thank you guys to everybody that voted. And here you have 2 number 1s. You've got Macho Man Hasbro Series 1 versus Retro Kane. And look, if you had to pick 2 of the very best, one from each, the Hasbro and the Retros, I don't think you guys could have voted in a better representation of each of those lines. So well done. Great votes. 2 number 1s going head to head. Macho Man Series 1 Hasbro versus the Retro Kane. Let's see who pulls it off.
We had one guy slide into one of the comments and he said, Hogan is number 16. It was the Hulkster Hug figure. And he goes, Hulkster Hug is number 16. What a joke. And he was getting smoked by Macho Man Series 1. And I was all, well, according to the votes, Hulkster Hug shouldn't even have been in this. So I told him to bounce out of the conversation.
Yeah, probably should. I mean, it's a great figure. You know, when you look at the entire run of the Hasbro line, I think we picked 16 of the best ones. So it's not a slight to Hogan at all. That's a great looking figure. My preference would be the Hulkaplex, but the Hulkster Hug's still a great figure, and it's no shame to be number 16 out of all of the Hasbros that came out. So it definitely wasn't a slight to that figure at all.
It was a complete slight.
Will you stop?
What?
Have you security? Have this man thrown out of here.
Scott, we have to get into the listener segment since Steve Ozer's segment went a little long last week. We got to get into the listener segment and get them talking. So, Scott, what do you say we jump into it?
Let's talk to him.
And I just want to hear from my people. Tell me, can I hear from my people? I just want to hear from my people. And I just want to listen to the listeners.
Scott, the first question comes in from Ring Skirts, a.k.a. Nate. Let's see what Nate's got to say.
The other night I had a dream. Really was more of a nightmare. And the more I thought of it, I thought it'd be a good listener question. And it actually also is kind of like a movie pitch idea. So here we go. This is my listener question, nightmare dream movie pitch idea that I'm going to give to you guys. I'm sure you guys are familiar with, even if you haven't seen it, you've probably heard of the movie Saw, or one of its sequels like Saw 2, or Saw 3, or Saw 4, 5, Saw 3D, or Jigsaw. This is kind of a horror parody of that movie, only with an action figure kind of tapestry placed over top of it. So imagine, if you will, Jeff and Scott, they wake up to realize that they've been chained to the floor of a dingy 1950 style bathroom that looks like it was in the back of a meat processing factory. They come to, they've been roughed up and beaten up and battered, and they're terrified because of their surroundings and the fact that they're chained to each other and chained to the floor of this place. They look up in the top corner of the room and see a 1980s style Zenith television, and the glow kind of wakes them up, and all of a sudden it goes snowing, and they see a figure on the screen. Literally a figure which ends up being a Jax Ring Giants Triple H wearing a tuxedo with his face painted white and little red spirals painted on his cheek. The figure, of course, is on a tricycle and slowly rides to the foreground of the screen. His head turns, his eyes start to blink red, and they stare right into your soul. And we hear the character, which we'll refer to as Figsaw, speak for the first time. And he says something along the lines of this.
Hello, Jeff and Scott. I want to play a game. I want to play a game! All your lives, you have spent your time and money pursuing a greater and greater collection of professional wrestling action figures. But do you truly appreciate what you have? I believe one cannot truly appreciate what they have until they no longer have it. There is a lever that has been placed in front of you. Move that lever to the left, and all of your beloved Hasbro action figures will have never existed. Instead, the LJN line will have continued, replacing those Hasbro figures with rubber versions of themselves. Move that lever to the right, and all of your beloved rubber LJN figures will have never existed, but instead will have been replaced with Hasbro-style representations of themselves. Which do you truly appreciate? A collection of an expanded Hasbro universe, or a collection of an expanded LJN universe? The choice is yours. You have 5 minutes to make a mutual decision. If you do not, you'll be forced one by one to watch each other open each's mint-on-card, autographed professional wrestling action figures. And you will not be granted any tissues to dry your tears.
So that's the dilemma, guys. That's the movie pitch. Would you rather make the decision to get rid of the history of Hasbro figures and have them replaced with a continuation of the LJN line, or the opposite, have the LJN line never exist and have all of those LJNs replaced with plastic Hasbro versions of themselves? Interesting dilemma. Wondering what you guys would say.
Jesus, Nate, what the hell are you eating before you go to bed? My God. What kind of twisted universe is this?
I'm going to guess he's eating WWF ice cream bars that have Kane on them.
No, dude, he's eating like Taco Bell, dude.
With fire sauce.
With fire sauce at Diablo. Holy crap.
I got to say, that's a mean Jigsaw impersonation, or Figsaw, I should say, impersonation.
That was awesome. That was awesome. Scott, all joking aside, you and I have a mutual decision to make here. So we have to do it within 5 minutes.
My biggest concern is the lack of tissues.
Well, we're experiencing that right now with toilet paper.
It's very real. It's very real.
This is the selfish part of me, dude. I love the LJN line. I played with them all the time. I never really played with the Hasbros. As pretty as the Hasbros are, I would have much rather had the LJNs continue.
But do you think that as you were getting older, you stopped playing with figures as much, and that's why you didn't play with the Hasbros as much as you might have if the LJNs were Hasbros? Because when the LJN started up, you were younger, so...
No, because when we got that shipment from Wrestling Ring, or the Wrestling Ring.
Yes.
Every time we got that shipment in, dude, I was playing with those figures for hours and hours, and it didn't matter what age I was still playing with them. But when the Hasbros came out, with the mechanisms, it was almost like outside of the obvious twist the body clothesline, I didn't really know how to maneuver the guys around the ring and use them for moves, and they were more display pieces than they were action figures, like playing with them. I had more fun playing with the LJNs than I ever did with the Hasbros.
So are you saying that maybe the LJNs had a little more playability to them, or in this case, a lot more playability to them as opposed to the Hasbros, which maybe felt a little more fragile? Like you were afraid you were going to break it?
That was part of it, but it's kind of funny you're saying that the LJNs had more playability, but it was one solid rubber. I see what you're doing there. Yes. But to your point, yes, I do feel like there was more playability to the, and I know a lot of people will disagree with this, but I felt like I had more playability with the LJNs than I ever did with the Hasbros.
But playability in terms of actual playability, or they were more indestructible, so you felt more comfortable kind of bashing them around as opposed to the Hasbros that you felt might break?
No, I felt like the Hasbros, like in order to use the mechanism, you had to kind of lift up Macho's arms but keep your thumb on the back, and then to do a double axe handle, move your finger so he can crush it down on somebody's head. It just felt like it was too much.
Whereas the Macho Man LJN, you just grabbed him around his waist and bounced him off the ropes and he flew into the guy.
Yeah, it was easy to do an elbow drop. You didn't have to kind of lift up his arms to kind of get the elbow to drop around the dude's neck. So with the LJN Macho Man, you could just have him jump off the top rope, drop the elbow. That was easy. But I don't know. There was something about the Hasbros. I felt that they were so pretty to look at that I would rather do that than play with them. That's why I played with the Galoobs more than I ever did the Hasbros.
So if Nate had asked about the Galoob line encompassing the LJN, would that change your answer?
No. LJNs are one in my book.
And you know what? I agree with you. So I think we're both going to throw that lever the same exact way.
Did we answer that within 5 minutes?
I think we did. But back to the tissues. I'm really worried about the tissues here, Jeff. We're stockpiling those now. But no, I agree with you. LJNs, we've talked about it so many times on this show, how LJNs are 1, Hasbro is 1A. It's super close. Hasbro is a very, very, very close second to our love of LJNs. And I would love to see if LJN could tackle those Hasbro names and live up to what Hasbro created. It's a great what if. But you and I both, Jeff, growing up on them, they're definitely our favorite figures of all time. And I think we'd be able to come to a mutual decision to extend the LJNs into 1994, 1995, and see what they could have done with those Hasbro names. I would have loved to have seen it.
I do love Nate's voice doing the saw voice. You know, that was pretty good.
I do too.
Fig saw.
Fig saw, yes.
Nate, you always crack us up with that, man. Thank you so much for sending that in. That was fun.
You're the man, Nate.
Scott, our next question comes in from Lee. Let's see what Lee's got to say.
All right, lads, it's Lee Carlos Cunningham, better known as @Rory's Nitro Pod on Twitter. Been listening for quite a long time, but first question sending in, and just a bit of a simple one today. I've been replacing some figures in my collection with better versions recently. Some good examples are the basic Ric Flair in the red trunks being swapped out with the Retro Fest, and taking off the old basic Hurricane to put the new Elite in. Which are some figures that you guys would like to see get an upgrade, or would have preferred to see in a better version, such as a basic into an Elite, or a Elite into an Ultimate? A couple of easy examples for me is I would have really preferred to see the SummerSlam 92 Bulldog Basic be an Elite, and the WrestleMania 10 Razor, same thing. I'd love to have an Elite Tommy Dreamer. I've only got a basic in the collection, and the Blue Sid Justice is another one I'd really much prefer to have as an Elite. As far as Ultimates, I think the recent Bret Hart Ultimate with the jacket mold showed that it can be a lot better with the jacket if done that way, so any of the Bret Harts would be a good candidate for me. You could even possibly do some of the Edge figures, or I'd really like the old Phantom of the Opera Undertaker Elite to be in an Ultimate, so you could have posable attire on with him. There's just a couple of examples for myself. Who do you guys think would be better suited to go up a step in their figure for Mattel? Thanks as always, really enjoy the show and looking forward to chatting more in the future. Have a great one.
Lee, thank you. That is a great question. We've often talked about one of our loves of Hasbro, kind of going back to Hasbro's a little bit, is how they would maybe not do the greatest job on a figure, i.e. Bossman Series 1, and kind of recognize that, or even Beefcake Series 1, and rectify it later with a better Bossman and a better Brutus Beefcake. It was kind of one of our favorite things about the one of our many favorite things about the Hasbro line. They always kind of redid a figure that maybe they didn't do the best job on the first time around. Flair would be one that they really should have redone. Never had the chance to, though. But to your question about current day, when you asked the question, Edge was really the first one that popped into my head that would make a great Ultimate Edition. They've done some killer Elites of him. I loved his Hall of Fame figure that Target had. But could you imagine an Ultimate Elite with different Edge heads, a killer-looking jacket on them, some additional hands? I think Edge is tailor-made to go into the Ultimate Edition line. I would love to see it. The other one that I think would make an awesome Ultimate Edition as an upgrade from even her Elite would be Asuka, because we were supposed to get that Asuka in the robe that was going to be the WrestleMania event Elite, and it got canceled. So what better way to reintroduce her or to bring that figure back to life than to put her in an Ultimate Edition with that great looking jacket, some alternate heads? I think that would be a killer home run figure. So those would be my two choices for sure.
I really wish that Ric Flair Ultimate Edition would have came out. I wanted to see that thing so bad.
Oh man, I 100% agree with you, dude.
One person that I think they need to redo is Ruby Riott, because that basic that they just came out with was horrendous. But then it was like she went from an Elite to a basic, but now they can give her an upgraded look, go back to an Elite and give her an updated look. And hopefully they can fix that face that she had.
Yeah, you didn't like that basic at all. But yeah, you're right. She just did redo her hair to green. So I could definitely see her getting a newer figure, but in an Elite form and not a basic.
One more I think that they need to add is Randy Savage to the Ultimate Editions, and maybe just do his WrestleMania 5 gear.
Yes. Agree.
I know there's a lot of Macho Man figures out there, but if you do different heads of Macho Man, one with glasses, one without, or you make it removable glasses, one with bandana, one without, whatever you want to do, but you can actually do the WrestleMania 5 Macho with the robe and then take the robe out. There's so many ways you can dress that up. I think WrestleMania 5 Macho Ultimate Edition would be a good one.
The addition of the robe alone makes that figure a home run, because you can look at how beautiful your McFarlane statue is, and you shrink that down into figure form. That is one great looking figure. I'm thinking the WrestleMania 3 defining moment Savage, but just from WrestleMania 5 instead. You make it an Ultimate Edition. Dude, that thing sells like crazy.
Thank you, Lee, for sending that in. That was a fun question. Scott, next question comes in from Nick. Let's see what Nick's got to say.
Hey guys, it's Nick over here in London again. Quick question. Now, as you probably know, I'm a Hasbro and retro collector, and I like to take those to shows and get them signed in good old blue pen. But recently, Big Show has been announced for a big convention over here in the UK. Now, as there's no Hasbro or no retro figure of Big Show, which figure would you suggest getting signed? Keep up the good work, guys. Big shout out to the HWO. And hopefully I'll see you soon. Bye.
You know, it's funny, Nick, when you asked this question, the first figure that both Scott and I kind of both looked at and we kind of realized this was the figure that you should get signed is the new Big Show Elite 71. It captures Big Show perfectly from that 1999 era. So I would definitely go with that one. That would be number one on my list. Although I did get his Elite 10 signed, and that was the one where he was holding two belts. Got that signed at WrestleMania 31 Superstore, where they were doing a free signing. We were sitting in line for Big Show.
That's WrestleMania play button, Jeff, not WrestleMania 31.
Yes, because it did not have a number, right?
Exactly.
So yes, I did get that signed. Funny story regarding that. We were in line for Big Show, and there was this little girl in front of us, and she was adorable, and Celeste and I were talking to her and her parents and all that stuff. She goes up to the Big Show. She's right in front of us. She goes up to the Big Show by herself. And as Big Show is sitting there, he's talking to her. And as I said, she's adorable. She's got a great personality and just talking to everyone and in line. And she's just chatting everybody up. It's funny. She gets up to the Big Show and Big Show's talking to her. And when they go to take the picture, Big Show puts his hand on her hand. Because you're standing in front of the table. The superstar was behind the table. You couldn't go behind. So you just kind of stood in front of the table. So Big Show puts his hand on her hand. And they take the picture and he says bye to her and all this stuff. So Celeste and I are up next. So we get up there and I take the figure and I set it down. I said, "It's nice to meet you, Show." I set the figure down and I look at him and I go, "Don't worry, Big Show. You don't have to hold my hand." Big Show looks at me, deadpan, stares me right in the eyes and he goes, "Oh, don't worry. I wasn't going to." And no, it's very serious. Now I'm thinking, crap. He signed the figure and I was like, okay, sign the figure and let's bounce. Like, this is just weird. So Celeste is even awkward, standing there awkward. Like, okay, that was just weird. So I put my hand on the table and we lean in for the picture. Now I said, we're standing in front. Celeste and I are in front. I put my hand on the table. Big Show puts his hand on top of mine. And in the picture, you see Big Show with this grin from ear to ear. And I start dying laughing. You see it in the picture. And he looks over at Celeste because Celeste sees both him and I just dying laughing. And Celeste is like, what just happened? And Big Show looks at her. He goes, I just totally held his hand. It was really weird.
That's awesome.
And ever since then, I've changed my mind about the Big Show. I love him. I think he's great.
Wait, so you weren't a Big Show fan before that?
I was, but it was just kind of like, okay, here's another Big Show match. You know, it's just like, okay, it's Big Show. You know, you don't really pay attention to it. It was becoming kind of mute. But I kid you not, right after that, I loved him. Every time he came out, I was like, cool, Big Show's on. I got excited every time Big Show comes on. I still do to this day. All because of that one moment. And I'm a fan to this day.
Wow, you see how easy it is to make a fan? You just take like not even a minute with that person and you immediately flip the switch on their opinion of you. How cool is that, dude? That's a great story. I love it.
Anyways, back to Nick's original question. I would say the new Elite 71 I would get signed. Or if you can score that Elite Series 10 where he's got both belts and he's got the Big Show shirt on, I would try to get that one signed. So thank you, Nick, for your question. Scott, this next question comes in from David S. Do you think wrestling fans are to blame for the distribution issues? It seems that a lot of people can't find figures and they appear to have stock. So it appears there is a lot of theft. Therefore, the store still thinks they have them in stock. Maybe they will have to lock up or have spider devices on them. This is the only group that fig swaps. Your thoughts? Thanks again for everything you do. So Scott, do you think that it's time for them to start locking these figures up?
Thank you for the question, David. We've actually talked about that before, about them possibly having to lock them up. Like our local Walmart, they lock up all of the Legos. It's behind glass and it's got the little lock on there. And if you want it, you have to have an associate come up and get it. And they've actually done that in their makeup section as well. Everything is behind glass and lock. I must admit, I'm not seeing the figure swapping as much as I had been in the past, but that doesn't mean that it's not still happening. That's definitely an option. It's something that they can look at. And I can't see wrestling figures being the only group of toys that this is happening to. I'm sure it's happening with Star Wars, with Mattel, or not with Mattel, with the Marvel Legends figures. It's got to be happening in that as well. I'm just not seeing it as much as I used to in the past. And I'm sure that that's part of it. Jeff, you mentioned going to your Walmart several times and that Nia Jax was still sitting there. And I think there were like one or two heads missing out of the package. So it's still part of it. But I think the bigger issue is stores just not stocking their shelves or their pegs as much as other ones. And that's definitely something that's going to be addressed. But I'm just not seeing the figure swapping as much as I used to. So I don't know that putting it behind the glass is really going to save it now. I like the spider idea. I think that that's a great idea. And if the figure swapping continues to get worse, it's definitely something that should be looked at and maybe more cost effective as opposed to putting glass down the entire aisle. Slapping those spider devices on there may work a lot better.
When you say spider devices, is that like the red beams that shoot across a room that you can only bring up with hairspray? Is that spider device?
I think you've watched a little bit too much Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, dude.
That's actually where I knew it from. Yeah, I probably have.
Yes.
Thank you, David, for sending that in. Scott, last question of the week comes in from Josh Thompson. Hey, Jeff and Scott, JT here, back with that weekly question. What type of gimmick line do you think AEW should do in the future that's a different scale? I wouldn't mind AEW doing something similar to the WWE microaggression. Only change I ask is to make the figures a bit bigger than the microaggression to add some more recognizable detail and possibly joints. Give this micro line a ring and backstage playset and I'll buy. JT. So I agree with JT on the smaller figures, the microaggression figures from Jax where it came with the ring. I think JT was on something there. What about the build and brawlers that Jax also did back in the day where they had like multiple points of articulation, stomach moved, arms moved, legs moved, feet moved? What about those? Do you think that would be a fun little gimmick line that would stand up today, Scott?
Yeah, I do for sure. I think that it's more cost effective. The playability is there. And as far as peg or shelf space, very advantageous there as well. So there's a lot of advantages to going smaller scale. I was thinking originally maybe like a 12-inch scale with limited posability, kind of like what WWE did with those slim boxes and the 12-inch figures. But I like JT's direction way better, and I agree with the both of you that smaller is the way to go for sure. And the build-in brawlers were great because not only did they have the multiple points of articulation, but it actually kind of looked like the guy too. They took some time and care to do the sculpting on the face to where it actually looked like the guy. I originally was going along the lines of maybe a little bit bigger than the microaggression, and they are the multi-packs that Jax used to make. And I don't remember the exact names of the figures or if they even had names, but it was a box, and on one side of the box had a clear plastic window, and it came with 6 little figures that were about 2 to 3 inches tall, and they were posable at the elbows, or not the elbows, at the shoulders, at the hips, and at the neck, so you could move their heads, their arms, and their legs. And it came with 6 figures, and then inside the box was a ring. And it usually had like a cage, or it had little chair accessories with it, and they did themed ones where it was like WrestleMania, Royal Rumble. They might have done a Survivor Series. They did a Raw's War one. I think something like that where you give the kids multiple figures to play with along with a ring, and I think you can get it all. Those rings ran like $15 to $20, but you got 6 figures in a ring for that $20. That's value. A parent looks at that and goes, oh yeah, no problem. Boom, $20, we're done. $20 to $30 price range, I think that would be a winner for AEW, Jazzwares, Wicked Cool Toys if they went in something like that, or went with something like that for the kids. Because as a parent, when I take my kid to the store, she wants something that's like $10 to $20. Okay, we can talk. But then you start getting in like the $30, $40 range. You're talking like birthday, Christmas, right? But if it has perceived value, like multiple figures and a ring and an accessory with the ring, that makes it a little more palatable for the parent to be like, okay, I don't have to get you anything for a while because you're getting quite a bit with this box set here. Something like that I think would be a home run for AEW.
What do you think if they did LJN style? Maybe like what they did with the Jax Classics, they put in one LJN figure?
To an extent, I want to say yes. But then you go back to the conversation we had with Bill at Stockton Con and his point that he doesn't think that scale plays today. It's not relevant in today's market. A big hunk of rubber that's going to add more to their shipping costs. It's like the collector in me wants to shun that. But the other side of it is like, yeah, I see the vendor's point. Like, costs go up all around. And if we're marketing this thing really to kids, you market it to collectors, that changes the game. But you marketing it to kids where you're putting it on a retail peg, maybe Bill's right, dude. Maybe a big hunk of rubber that adds to their shipping cost just isn't feasible. Like a kid's going to look at the Cody Rhodes figure and go, man, that's awesome. Or is he going to look at the big hunk of rubber, maybe like an Arn Anderson figure or something sitting next to it that you and I would see and go, dude, that's awesome. But they're marketing to kids, and a kid's going to look at that and go, why do I want that hunk of rubber Arn Anderson when I can get this really cool Cody that I can pose any way I want to? Maybe Bill's right, dude. As a collector, I want to see it, but with them marketing to kids, I kind of see their point too.
But what if you do one of those figures per line, one per case?
I don't see why it would hurt to test it, right? Do one and see if it moves. And you make it a chase like the Cody or the Jericho, a 500 or a 1,000 count chase. Maybe there's no harm in that. You're only making 1,000 of them, or you're only making 500 of them. Yeah, throw a name in. And I would not suggest doing something, figure that they haven't done in the main line yet. I.e., don't do like Luchasaurus if you don't have him planned until wave 4 or 5 in wave 3 in that format. I would highly suggest against doing that. Give us the main run Luchasaurus, and he's a hypothetical. Give us that figure first before you go into like a Chase LJN variant. I wouldn't want to see that done first before the mainline figure for sure.
Were you about to say he's a hypothetical dinosaur? He's 64 million years old, dude.
You know what's funny? And honest to God's truth, I didn't realize that was Judas.
Yes, that is.
Not the Chris Jericho song, Judas, but the wrestler Judas from NXT, or as some might know him, as that tall tatted guy that was on Big Brother. I didn't realize that was him. Honest to God, I had no idea. And then I was reading about Luchasaurus and I'm like, oh crap, it's that guy, which made me an even bigger fan of him because I loved Big Brother. That was loved, past tense, haven't watched it recently, but I thought he was awesome on Big Brother. He was one of my favorite characters on there. Characters, if it's real life, real person, whatever. I liked him on that show. Made me an even bigger fan of Luchasaurus, and I can't wait for his figure, but I don't want to see it in a chase gimmick form before I see it in the main run or the main line of the Unrivaled series.
I could see Luchasaurus being like the Warlord figure from LJN, but with tattoos, a Luchasaurus mask, just kind of in that scale with that same pose, with the Luchasaurus look on it. I just picture that.
Okay. Yeah. No, I agree with you on that. I could totally see something like that, but give us the main run Unrivaled Luchasaurus before you go creating, chase variants of that scale, specifically to your point of an LJN. I would rather see the main run line figure first. But to JT's question, I think smaller scale is definitely the way to go in some sort of multi-pack to where the parents look at it and go, okay, instead of spending $20 on this one figure, I'll get you this smaller pack of figures for 10 where you're getting like 3 or 4 in a shot. That's definitely the way to go.
Scott, that rounds out episode 217. Everyone, head on over to WrestlingToyTracker.com if you are in the hunt for Galoops, LJNs, Retros, Hasbros, and Scott, they just added, do you know?
Wrestling Buddies?
No. What? You need to be up on your Wrestling Toy Tracker.
I do.
I am disappointed in you, kind sir.
Shame.
He just added Just Toys Bendums on there.
Great call. I love that line.
Very underrated line and inexpensive to go back and collect. So go check that out over on Wrestling Toy Tracker. Check out the prices on those Just Toys Bendums. We've loved those back in the day. We've done nostalgia segments on those numerous times, talked about them on here numerous times. Fantastic call putting those on. And as you will see, there's a lot of inexpensive ones that you can go back and collect mint on card. Scott, Eagle Moss.
Yes, if you have a pop culture or WWE fan in your life and you're looking for an inexpensive gift for that person, look no further than Eagle Moss. You can give them a follow on Twitter at HeroCollector_. They've got a ton of properties under their umbrella, from WWE to Batman to Star Trek, you name it, they've got it. Go check out the selection of Eagle Moss collectibles. Look at them on Twitter at HeroCollector_.
I want to throw it back to Breaker and Bane over in the podcast realm. Breaker and Bane over there do a great show where they talk about wrestling, talk about comics, Funkos, or Toy Talk. They also have a guest on each week, so go check out Breaker and Bane's Power Hour. Also check out Breaker's side project, Back to the Nintendo, where him and his tag team partner Brett talk about old school Nintendo games. And they play them on there, and then they give their opinion of them and give you the rundown of how much the cartridges are worth now. So check out Back to the Nintendo. Scott, do you know it's been 1 year since Banemania came out?
A whole 1 year?
It's been a year. And in that time, he's created Outsiders Beard Co.
He has, and you can follow them on Facebook, Outsiders Beard Company. I use the product. I think you should check it out. It's definitely one that's, if you have a beard, you've got to take a look at what he's got to offer. I can't recommend enough using a balm or an oil, or a balm and an oil on your beard. It gives it a nice feel. Every time I go get my hair cut and I get my beard trimmed, I'm always using the oil on it, and the lady that does the trims on it, she's always complimenting how soft it is. Okay, get your mind out of the gutter, Jeff. I saw the look in your eye. Get your mind out of the gutter, sir. I will have you thrown right out of here.
Hey, I didn't say a word. I was giving you the stank eye, but...
You always give me the stank eye. You've been doing that since you were born. It gives your beard a nice feel. It gives it a nice sheen. Definitely check out Outsiders Beard Company on Facebook. If you don't want your beard hairs smelling like your butt hairs, go check out what Bane has to offer at Outsiders Beard Company.
I also want to throw it back to Eric over at Doing the Favor. Eric over there, he does a great show each week on wrestling figs and merch.
Jeff, you forgot Barry.
Huh?
Jeff?
What?
Let me say it louder. You forgot Barry. Barry and Eric. Eric and Barry. It's a tag team, like Jeff and Scott, Scott and Jeff. It's Eric and Barry, or Barry and Eric.
Eric does a great show. Yes, Eric.
Barry, the disrespect that you face on this show every week from Jeff, is I'm going to punch him for you. I promise.
Barry. He sounds familiar.
Okay, do you remember that one time I accidentally put vodka in your Diet Pepsi?
Yes.
Barry, just for you, I'm going to do it again.
No, don't do that to me.
Then I'm gonna hand him his phone with Amazon brought up on there, and we're gonna see what he orders.
It tastes like battery acid.
How dare you?
Oh, dude, it hit the lips and I spit it out right away.
How dare you not mention Barry with Eric? Shame on you.
I'm only kidding. Eric and Barry do a great show over there.
You're the worst, dude.
They talk about figs and merch this past week. They also did a watch along. That's always fun to listen to with those two guys. I'm going to put together that care package, by the way. I'm going to send that out to him.
Barry, just throw it right in the garbage when you get it.
What?
Or burn it, one or the other. Take a video when you do it too.
Go on Instagram Live or Twitter Live and do it.
Yeah, does protein powder explode when you light it? Nothing like gunpowder, right?
No, it's nothing like that.
Although that'd be a good name for a protein powder. Gunpowder.
I don't know if you're marketing this right.
It won't sell in California, but everywhere else it might.
So go check out Eric and Barry over at Doing the Favor. This past week, Steve and his partner Eric over at PPW Podcast released an episode regarding All In, which was a fun episode. They talked about everything revolving around All In, meaning StarCast, the show itself, each match, the Joey Ryan Druids. Do you remember that one, Scott?
I do, yes. The Fluids.
Yep. So that was a fun listen. I recommend everybody going back and downloading that. Positively Pro Wrestling Podcast, PPW Podcast on iTunes. Ryan Buds each day puts out a daily trivia, about 10 to 15 minutes. Fun listen. He goes over everything. There are so many episodes to go back. He's definitely hitting one of your senses. He's done wrestling. He's done Seinfeld. He's done Curb Your Enthusiasm. He's done so much. Cartoons. He's done so much. So check out Trivia with Buds on iTunes. Marty and Sarah each week welcome in their buddies on Marty and Sarah Love Wrestling. And Scott, Drunk Wrestling History. What's this week?
This week, don't quote me, because again, I didn't get the schedule from Ed. He's such a drunkard. I believe it was Andre the Giant drinking stories. We had a listener suggest, because we just threw out, if you have something you want us to talk about, let us know. And somebody, I don't remember who it was, might have been GBM, wanted us to talk about Andre the Giant drinking stories. So we told a few of those, and we had a lot of fun doing it. A lot of fun. So definitely check it out. You can follow us on Twitter at wrestling_drunk. And we release our show every Friday. You can catch it on all the places that you catch this podcast on. You know the drill. Again, on Twitter at wrestling_drunk. If you have a topic you want us to discuss or a pay-per-view you want us to review, throw it at us. And we'll definitely put it in the hopper for next time. By the time this airs, this show, we're going to have already recorded 6 additional shows of Drunk Wrestling History to put into the hopper. And I believe we'll be good till mid-June. I think we discussed that last week. So there's more topics coming your way. I believe the one that just dropped this past Friday is going to be the Andre the Giant drinking stories. And again, we had a blast doing it. Drunk Wrestling History on Twitter at wrestling_drunk, where we're not always accurate, but I guarantee you we are always drunk.
Scott, roll call.
Yes, first and foremost, the great Jason Wolf. Give him a follow on Twitter at JasonWLF. He is the gentleman who is currently working on our Series 3 cardback shirt. If you need artwork, Jason Wolf is your guy. Give him a follow. Give him a look on Twitter at JasonWLF. I want to give it up to Pollyanna DIY. If you need enamel pins, Pollyanna DIY is your guy. Give him a follow on Twitter at Pollyanna. That's with 2 N's, DIY. And figure photographers this week, Jeff, let's throw it out to our good friend Lee, who actually left us an audio earlier at Raw is Nitro Pod. We're going to throw it out to the Nerdy Collector at Nerdy Collector. That's with 2 K's instead of 2 C's. Armbar Figures. Give him a follow on Twitter at ArmbarFigs. Jarrell's Collection. And you can give him a follow on Twitter at Jarrell. That's Jerel Collection. And finally, the great Sean Welch, ladies and gentlemen. Give him a follow on Twitter at Sean. That's SEAN Welch Photos. All those guys do incredible work. You will not be disappointed. They're going to decorate your timeline on Twitter with some great figure photography. And Jeff, that rounds out roll call.
Scott, that also rounds out episode 217. Anything else?
Fig License 2016. and happy toy hunting.
Want to thank everyone for listening to episode 217, #FigLife. Adios.
Yeah. FullyPoseable. Let's go. Jeff and Scott, the Toon Brothers, busting out the ring. But we don't take it out the box, MOC. Happy toy hunting, we'll see you next week. We're the OGs, the WFP. FullyPoseable, thank you all for listening. It ain't no storyline, real life siblings. So everybody go and do your toy spotting. #FigLife, adios from the Kings.